Welcome to our channel, Disaster Diaries, where today we bring you a disaster that happened in one of the world's most cheerful places, adorned with laughter, smile, and enthusiasm. Amusement park rides have always been a must-go-to spot for enthusiasts of adventure, dare, and escapades. These rides come in not one, but many forms, ranging from roller coasters to a Ferris wheel. The world holds many of these big, huge roller coasters, enthralling the fanatics with fear, excitement, and thrill, all packed under one seat, covered with a safety lock. These safety locks might sometimes give the user a view of being completely safe, but in reality, we will never know what the real deal is. Going onto these rides is a matter of trust and fate. And when fate gets the advantage, we come across some of the most fatal mishaps known in the history of adventurous mankind. We bring you the story of the Xtreme Coaster Ride that changed Lindsay Zeno's life forever. Lindsay Zeno, a 21-year-old young girl from Lafayette, visited the Blue Bayou Water Park, also known as the Dixie Landing Amusement Park, on a fine Sunday weekend in July of 2010. Neither she nor her family would have even the slightest idea of what her water park escapade had in store for the young Lindsay. According to her friends and family, she'd been a cheerful girl, always being the life of the party. However, her decision of going to a roller coaster changed her life for the worse that she could imagine. What followed after Lindsay's day out to the amusement park with her friend has to date affected everyone near and dear to the young girl from Lafayette. The Dixie Landing Amusement Park holds many famous rides, which hold the records of being the largest or the tallest in their category. Since the park's opening in 1989, it has seen many rides and many more attractions to develop itself as a go-to site for a sip of thrill and amusement. On one Sunday evening in 2010, Lindsay fell about 30 feet from the Xtreme around 4 p.m. This mishap was witnessed by many fellow passengers and amusement park visitors, one of them calling the accident the worst thing he had ever seen in his life. The roller coaster that opened to the public 3 years before the mishap spun as it went through its twists and turns along a steel track. According to one of Lindsay's fellow ride mates, the safety mechanism that goes over the rider's chest came up in her case, and she tried hard to pull it down. To her own demise, the mechanism pulled back over her, and it was then the ride made a turn and Lindsay couldn't hold on to the bar, and the next thing that every spectator witnessed was a series of events accompanied by horror, fear, and utmost terror. At the time, Louisiana's Office of the State Fire Marshal regulated the amusement parks and their workings. State Fire Marshal Butch Browning sent inspectors from his department to examine the coaster. According to Browning, the Xtreme showed no visible signs of obvious failures. The tracks were still in place, along with the mechanical parts of the ride that were perfectly intact. On investigation and serious scrutiny, the drives, electrical, and everything else worth taking notice of seemed fine. This created the job of the investigating party to be even more tedious and longer than initially expected. The ride had been the cause of a passenger's death, and the death had been witnessed by many people. This event made sure that the ride had some dysfunction. However, the process of finding and clearing this dysfunction was going to be a difficult one. On checking the files of the amusement park under the regular ride checkups, the Xtreme, along with the other rides, was examined a month before the accident, and no violations or mechanical complications were found. The roller coaster was shut down until the investigation of the deadly fall was completed. Before we dig deeper into the tragic accident of Lindsay Zeno, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Disaster Diaries, to learn more about the tragic events that might not happen every day, but when they do, they make headlines. To learn more about such disasters and to keep updated, do not miss pressing the bell icon. You'll get regular notifications and updates. Moving ahead, let's look closer at the roller coaster and whether Lindsay could manage to get out of her fatal accident. Within the upcoming days of examination, more experts were called to physically operate the ride and put it under some test conditions to understand what had happened. The manufacturer of the roller coaster was also called upon to board and examine the ride. A joint investigation between the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office and the State Fire Marshal's Office also took place. All these investigations and examinations boiled down to nothing very fruitful for the victim. Lindsay succumbed to her injuries and was laid to rest on the succeeding Saturday. She had graduated from the Northside High School in Lafayette in 2007, and after her tragic death, the whole of Northside was left in sorrow and mourning. Her demise was a tragedy to those whom she knew and a fearful nightmare to those whom she didn't. A deadly fall from a roller coaster had never been on anyone's mind among the visitors of the Dixie amusement park before Lindsay surrendered and succumbed to her fatal fall. Through much more examination, the authorities came to know that this was not the first accident that had taken place on the Dixie premises. 4 years before the tragic death of Lindsay Zeno, another disastrous event took place in the Dixie Landing amusement park. Kobe Carter, a 2-year-old boy, broke his arms and legs when he fell from a ride called Rainbow under the Dixie Extravaganza. The boy's parents filed a lawsuit that claimed that no height requirements or age restrictions were posted before the accident. Coincidentally, this ride had also been in operation for about 3 years at the time of the accident. Very luckily, Kobe Carter was saved, and his injuries did not prove to be fatal. However, they left him with physical disabilities to be dealt with for the rest of his life. Interestingly enough, days before the incident, Diana Landry of St. Tammany Parish had filed a lawsuit against the Conjure ride. She stated that the raft on the water slide landed with such force and thrust that the passenger in front of Miss Landry was thrown forward and backward, causing her head to strike against the victim. Her suit claimed that the ride was not equipped with any safety restraints, belt harnesses, or protective equipment to prevent an accident of this nature. To this date, the roller coaster Xtreme remains dysfunctional and is no longer open for rides. This will not only prevent any more catastrophic events, but also keeps Lindsay Zeno's memory alive. Thank you for watching today's video of the Disaster Diaries. If the tragic fall of Lindsay Zeno caused you to sit back and think about the horrific side of amusement parks, make sure that you remain seated and like our video. Please comment below on your experience in amusement parks and whether you were lucky enough to avoid any disastrous tragedy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with more events by turning on the notification for the Disaster Diaries and clicking the bell icon. And before you resume your daily routine of mundane events, make sure you share this video with your equally adventurous roller coaster enthusiasts.